stand in your truth. Every voice matters, yeah, we see you. Love who you are, let the world know. This is your moment, let your light glow. More than a story, more than a name. We break the silence, rewrite the frame. Autism, neurodivergence, every mind shines bright. Mental health, self-love, stepping into the light. For the parents, the dreamers, the ones who push through. Awesomely you, we celebrate you. Awesomely you, we rise, we shine. Vowing voices, breaking the lines. This ain't just a podcast, this is a move. Celebrating every story, making room. For the ones who speak in ways they don't understand. For the hearts that love big, for the ones who take a stand. For the ones who see the world in a different way. We amplify your voice, let the world hear what you say. Every challenge, every win, every step you take. You are seen, you are loved, this is your space. No more silence, no more fear. Awesomely you, we're standing here. We are the voices, we are the change.
Hey you guys, it's your host Crystal Jordan, and we're back in season 2 with another dope guest. As I say in every episode, I want you guys to take a seat, sit in the next guest seat, life shoes for 30 minutes. That's all I ask. Today we have another Tiffany, and you're like 2 Tiffany's in a row. Today I want you guys to meet Tiffany Coleman. She is a writer, a speaker, a mother, and an advocate, and a servant of God. She is passionate about her faith and advocating for those with disability, which is autism. It is her goal to ensure that every person achieves their God-given purpose despite society labels. If she does not sound like y'all host, I want to read her, I want to read her mojo, but her model, but I want her to get into it because I'm gonna read it. I just said it. It said God. It says after every gift, talent, and dream, get busy pushing purpose. No, go. I read it wrong, y'all. Go after every gift, talent, and dream. Get busy pursuing purpose. God, have faith in God. I love that. If y'all didn't know, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. He's the reason for the season. And with that being stated, today we have Tiffany Coleman. I want you to get into your story, and welcome to the Awesomely You podcast family. Thank you for being here and trust me with your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here amongst you and to be able to talk about autism and how wonderful our loved ones are, and just to share my story. And for me, my story begins, I am the mother. First of all, I'm a mother. I'm a lover of all things God. I believe that faith is so important as we journey through life. I'm a mother. I'm an advocate. And I am here to just talk about my experience and my journey with autism. I was a young, I wouldn't say a young mom. I was a mom out in the world, enjoying just what I thought life was going to be. I had a great career, and I ended up having twin sons. My twin sons, about 10 months, began to show some signs of some delays. As a mother, I had previously been in the special education arena. And so I had some idea that something just wasn't right. And so for me, it was having that mother's intuition and saying, you know what, there's something that is delayed in my children. And I remember going to the doctors, and I spoke with them, and I said, something's just not right. And I was kind of, brushed off and told, oh, they'll get better. It'll get better. They'll start to talk. They'll start to do these things. And I I was being pushed by the wayside. And it took a lot of just myself understanding that these are my children and I have to be able to be the sounding board for them. And so, although for several years it would ultimately take 8 years before the diagnosis of autism was actually given. Fighting with, I was advocating for them at school systems with medical professionals, and I was saying there's something wrong, and I kept being told, you know what, it'll get better, you'll be fine. But what ended up happening, again, it took 8 years. Finally got a diagnosis within 20 minutes of going into the same hospital that had previously told me that, hey, they don't have autism. Within 20 minutes, they made the determination and said, yes, they did. So, but what I was so grateful that I was able to do is, despite what they were telling me, I still took the steps necessary, getting them the therapies and the things that they needed in order to begin the process of, healing, or getting them to the best or optimal performance level as possible. And so I am so grateful that I did do that as a mother. But I just think about those parents that really don't know what to say. And they feel like, oh, these people know more than me. But you know your child. And if you know your child, you know something is wrong. It is up to you to advocate. Push back when you need to push back. There's going to be times in IEP meetings. There's going to be times in times when you're speaking with medical professionals that you are the expert, because you are spending more time with that child because it's your child. You see what they can and can't do. So don't ever minimize what it is that you're feeling. And for me, it was also understanding that as I had my faith, I believe that, you know what, God, you placed me in my children's lives to be that advocate, to be that person that's going to speak out for them. We can't just sit back and cower in the corner and say, you know what, this is just the label that they have. I believed in being proactive, and it says, because the Bible says, because of a lack of knowledge, the people perish. And so I didn't want my children to perish. And I always thought about the verse that says, that if that we have to study, we have to study to show ourselves approved. We have to ensure that we take the time and we look up the information. There's a lot of information out here now with technology that tells us about what is autism. How can I be proactive for my children? What is it that I need to do as a parent? If it's taking a class, I took as many classes as I possibly could take, so that I made sure that I was able to ask the right questions at the right time to get the right services for my sons. And it has not been an easy task, but I am so grateful to God, because I think about the verse that says that, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? And what I thought about that, as I turned it around and I said, well, Lord, I don't want to profit, because I had a good job. And what was I going to profit if my children weren't able to read and write and see, I not be able to see them fulfill God's purpose for them in their life? And as they are fulfilling their purpose, I was able to find out what my purpose was. And part of that purpose was advocating for them. And so we can't diminish that, because sometimes as moms, especially at home moms, or we feel like, oh, I'm just the caretaker, I'm just the caregiver. No, you are discipling those children to become the best in the thing that God has for them to do. Because we don't know. There are people with autism that are nuclear physicists. There are people that are prize fighters, that are geniuses. We cannot negate what gifts God has placed in them. And just as my intro kind of said, is that I just believe that I say this in this season of life, that I want to expel every gift that God has given me. And I believe that for my sons as well. It doesn't matter what the label is. God has a plan and a purpose for them. And so for me, part of that plan and that purpose was advocating for them, also advocating for other children, understanding that it was just not about me. I could hold my testimony to myself and say, you know what, I don't want the world to know what I went through. But I said, you know what, I want to tell my story so the enemy doesn't have to tell my story for me. I want to be the one
Mm.
who goes out and says, you know what, this is what I went through. And as I was going through this, I was going through my own health challenges. My mother was diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer. And so I was bombarded with all these things. And as caregivers, we forget sometimes that we have to give ourselves some grace. And we have to say, you know what? Sometimes I need some help. I had to learn to ask God and say, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing here, but I need your help. And can you send me some help? And sometimes that help is through a practitioner. Sometimes it's just talking or listening to someone else that is going through the same thing that you are going through. Because, I always say that the enemy wants to get us off by ourselves. It says that the Lord will leave the 99 for the one, because if that one is by itself, it's easy for them to get captured. But if we have a grouping and we can come together and say, you know what, I'm dealing with this, and be transparent. I had to learn that. I had to put away my pride and say, you know what, if I can help somebody else, it is worth it for me to put it out there, because I have had so many people come up to me and say, you know what, I think my grandson has something. I think my granddaughter has something. But if we keep it quiet and we don't say anything, then guess what? They can't get the help that they need. Sometimes we are the conduit for someone else to get the help that they need. If we expose I say sometimes our little secrets that we want to keep to ourselves, if we expose those, sometimes it is the building block for someone else to have the strength that they need and the courage that they need to make it through what they are going through. So for me, another part of that has been God allowed me the opportunity during the lowest seasons of life for me to end up writing a book. And I wrote a book. It's called Your Daily Ticket. Here it is. It's called Your Daily Ticket. And in it is a 31-day devotional. And inside, I talk about autism. I talk about the loss. I talk about grief. I talk about the things that matter to us all. Whether it's family, how the family dynamic may change. But I never thought about it in terms of autism until recently, that it is a loss. Sometimes we have to grieve the loss of what we thought our children would become, what we thought. Not what God thought for them, but what we thought, because we have a preconceived idea that when our children are born, that they should do exactly what we think they're supposed to do. But God has a different plan and a different purpose. And so for me, writing this book was inclusive of that, because it showed me how even in my sons having autism, I learned so much about myself, and I learned so much about God. And my children each and every day give me the strength and the endurance and the patience that I need to understand that, hey, this too shall pass, and that, hey, God does not make any mistakes. And so it has been my pleasure to be their parent and to be their advocate, and also to help others and help them see that, hey, just because you have this label doesn't mean that you cannot do something great and something that you want to do, because each person with autism is uniquely designed. Each person has a gifting. They have that one thing that they are an expert at. I say they are subject matter experts. For my sons, it's sports. They can tell you every statistic about every player. And it is magnificent. The mind, how they're able to process things that maybe I can't process, or I might process it differently. And so it was learning how to work with them as they are, and learning how to work with other children as they are, seeing what their strengths are, and honing in on those strengths and working with those strengths to ensure that they fulfill the greatest purpose and passions that they have in life. And one thing that always tickled me is hearing people say, "Oh, are your children artistic?" And I'm like, "Oh, we must educate people that although they may have the ability to do things very artistically and creatively, the word is autism." And so it and the Greek word, the Greek of that is auto, which means self. And so they are self motivated. They have their own thing, their own personality, their own way of doing things. And so sometimes, even when my sons were young, I had to learn how to teach them the way that they needed to be taught, not necessarily the way the school was ready to teach them. So what I did was I found creative ways to teach them. And every day, 2 hours after school, I would have to teach or reteach what they had already learned in school. And so what we would do was what we called mommy work. And so it would get on their nerves, but we had to learn how to learn different math concepts through rap songs, or we had to learn through music, or we had to try different modalities for them to learn the same things that maybe their typical peers could learn a lot faster. But it was a time in my life that I truly learned patience. I learned gratitude. I learned that, hey, I, I can't do things the way that I think they should be done. I have to do them the way that they need to learn them. And it grows you as a parent and as a caregiver. And so I just want to say to everyone out there, no matter what you're facing as a caregiver, try to find your Fab Five. Find 5 people that you can hone in and talk to and get support from. If it's in the church community, if it's somebody out in your DD community, if it's someone, your family, get a support system. Don't do it by yourself. Find a village. I dealt with tragic losses as far as my mother and my father. A lot of my family passed away. So I had to think outside of the box. I had to find a village and a whole new place. And I am so grateful that I didn't just stay in the little cocoon of my own space thinking that I could do it all, because we can't do it all on our own. It's just like when you get on an airplane and they tell you to put the mask on the child before yourself, because you've got to get oxygen. You've got to breathe from somewhere else. You've got to be able to breathe so that you can help take care of your loved one. But it has been my pleasure to be a mom, to be a caregiver, to be an advocate. I now try to serve people wherever I go. If someone has a question, I'm willing and ready to answer. I'm willing and ready to provide resources if it's something I can help them with, to help them get through the struggles that they may be going through. I just want people to be encouraged and understand that autism is not a death sentence for your child. It is just a different way of looking at life and knowing that God entrusted you with the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to serve, and to disciple your children into adulthood, into becoming the best versions of themselves. And so it is my pleasure to always speak and to encourage and just to remind you that all things work together for the good. And sometimes when we get that first diagnosis, we feel like, what good can come from this? As the Bible said, what good can come from Nazareth? But what good things can come from autism are that you as a parent, you learn so much. I've learned to be grateful for the small miracles, the everyday things, the things that, for some parents, they take for granted that their children can walk, they can talk, they can feed themselves, they can do those things. For me, it is every day looking at the little things. If it's learning how to read something better, if it's the progress that they've made, it is those small miracles that sometimes we all take for granted. And it was really brought to my attention even more recently. I had the pleasure of meeting a family where the the mother had recently lost their child that had autism. And I thought about it and I said, for those of us that are going through the monotony of each and every day and the challenges that we face, imagine that mother that would wish that she still had her child. One of the leading causes for death for children with autism is drowning. So I implore you to ensure that your children know how to swim when they're around water, that they're careful, that you get them that training. A lot of resources are available now to help with that financially, so that doesn't have to become a statistic in your home. So it is so important. And I'm so grateful that I even now have been able to touch base with people who are into adulthood, or who have parented their children into adulthood, and be able to see that, hey, they still had the opportunity to learn how to drive, to hold down a job. So we cannot diminish our children or our loved one and say, you know what, they've got this, they can't do this. No, the sky is the limit. They still have to be given the opportunities. And then we just have to support them, knowing that, hey, they may need a little bit more help, but God has a plan and a purpose. And part of that is for us as caregivers to help with that.
So I
So,
want to go back into your kid diagnosis.
mhm.
So before they were diagnosed, you stated that nobody took you serious. Do you feel like that was more because you was minority and you feel like your voice wasn't being heard?
I don't want to believe that, but I know that there are disparities, and that's one reason why I became an advocate and love advocating for all children with autism, or any disability, because a lot of times,
Because
in
that is
our
a thing that it
yes,
happens.
yeah, absolutely. In our community, it does happen, where we are just kind of pushed to the side, or you really don't understand your child, but you have to be that advocate. You are the sounding board. You have to understand that regardless of what they think, because I know they probably thought this angry little little African American woman just keeps telling us, "Hey, there's something wrong." Well, I had the expertise and the understanding,
So
having the
what was
back.
the pivotal point in that moment when before you got diagnosed? What was the pivotal point for parents who are listening, who are going through what you're going through right now?
The pivotal point was when both of my children I think they were in first grade, and they told me that they would test one child and not the other, because they were twins, but I was seeing the same symptoms in both boys. And so I had to push back and I said, hey, if you're not going to test both of them, you won't be testing one of them. And then I went and got an independent evaluation conducted. And like I said, within 20 minutes after we had waited about, actually it had been, it wasn't until they were 8 years old that they were actually diagnosed. So from 10 months to 8 years old. And it shouldn't, I don't want anyone ever to have to wait that long to get a proper diagnosis. If you suspect something, then say something to your practitioners. If that person won't listen to you, find another one that will. And then, go into the autism community, find out, where can I go get diagnosed at? Are there any professionals in my area? Ask other parents that may be in that community that can give you some resources as well.
Mm, I can agree with that. Everything you stated, I agree with. Fortunately, it didn't take me long to get my son diagnosis, but I hate that it took you to your kids were 8 years old. My
Yes.
next question is, how do you feel? How do you think we can move past awareness into true acceptance? I'm in this season where awareness is there, but
Yes.
I'm in a season of acceptance is the most important thing, because at this point I feel that a lot of people are aware what autism is. Now I need you guys to accept it and hire our kids and our if they're gonna be adults. So what do you think? I'm gonna put it back up. Will move us beyond awareness?
Um, you're right, because people are aware of what they think it is, but acceptance is accepting that it is unique to each person. So you cannot just say, okay, well, this is what autism is. No, it is a spectrum. One child differs from another child. So in order to accept it, you have to, like you said, provide opportunities, not just the bagger at the grocery store, because some of them have the functionality and the ability to do something beyond that. But we have to open a spectrum of opportunities, not just, like I said, the bagger or the person working at the Goodwill. We want to create jobs that allow them to utilize the skill sets that they have, whether that be, there are some kids that are very good with technology. There's some that are very good in music. There are some that are good in sports, that are very good in understanding different facets of life. So we have to create those opportunities. We also have to, again, go back to what we talked about earlier, is not having preconceived ideas. um a lot of times when they see, let's say, African American boys with behavioral problems, the first thought is ADHD, and that's what I ran up against was, oh, they've just got ADHD. No, there was some underlying issue. My sons did not, they weren't necessarily having a lot of behaviors, but what their behavior was is that they would cry. So it was just like a baby who could not verbalize. So when they couldn't verbalize, they started crying, and that was seen as being defiant. Well, it wasn't. It was their only means of communication. So it is so important that we raise awareness, but not only just raise awareness, we provide opportunities. And opportunities outside of the normal, typical, this is where we think they should be. We also have to make sure that we create environments educationally that are being held accountable, not just, okay, we're housing them, we're providing the funding, we're allowing you to house them until they're in high school or they're 22. No, what are we doing to prepare them for tomorrow? What are we doing to prepare them for?
But that's where the resources come in at, and that's where we as parents have to find the resources or create the resources.
Absolutely.
Because unfortunately, once they get past 22, the state is no longer responsible. That's
Yes.
the parent, and a lot of parents don't know that, because you have to be educated in that.
Yes.
And sometimes parents don't learn that till it's too late. Just
That's
like
right.
a lot of parents don't know about the IEP. Once your kid gets to at least 16, you should start the transitional plan to transition them for post secondary options for if they do want to go to school. But that's a conversation that some parents are not ready for, because
Yes.
they're focusing. You have a lot of parents, you have to meet them where they are. Some parents, like, it's my probably to this podcast, who is not okay with a kid being autistic because they don't understand the beauty in it yet. You have somebody
Yes.
who is an advocate, who's like, I'm here, but I'm not there. So I believe when you advocate, you have to meet the people where they are, and then you go from there. You can get them the resource, but they have to want it,
That's
because
right.
you can give a parent a whole bunch of resources, and they just sit there for months or
Right.
years because
Right.
their mental health is not okay. So
Yes.
my next question is, since you are an advocate such as me, what is something that you do that is non-negotiable for your self-care?
That's non-negotiable. I give myself grace, because at first I used to just constantly go, 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 go. I've got to make sure this is, and it has to be done for the kids, and this has, but now I have learned that if I don't take care of me, that I'm not going to be here to take care of them. And so that is so important, to give yourself grace. And for me, it is my faith is very important. I'm not just trying to sell a book, but it is definitely a resource. It goes through 31 days, and I deal with everything from grief to autism to life changes, and all the things that we go through, and the stresses that we go through, and how to make it through. And at the end of each daily meditation or devotion, there's a prayer, so that you can pray that over yourself, and just have that time of release. For me, I had to learn that, hey, just a candle, some good sense, taking a bath by myself, was that self-care that I needed. And I think you brought up a great point as far as education. Not only does it end once the child is 22, but a lot of parents don't even know that even in the post-secondary arena, if a child wants to go to college, that there are resources available. I used to work for, it was called Services for Students with Disabilities. As they go into college, there are test proctoring, there's different note takers, different resources that are available to them that will help them through that journey. So don't think that you're all alone, or that they're done at high school, but there are opportunities. And we do. The most important thing is to gain the knowledge that you need to make it through, and to listen to podcasts like this, get information, glean as much information as possible. If you don't know something and someone else knows something, please share that with your fellow friend or caregiver, or a person that's in need, because as you glean information, disseminate it to somebody else. That's why God allowed you to learn that information. Don't just hold it to yourself. If you're not gonna utilize the information, give it out, put it out, so that other people can learn and get the help that we need, because we all need each other. It takes a village. And in today's day and age, we do have to help each other through the journey that is called autism, that is a lifelong journey.
So my next question is not a question. This is the session where the Awesome Tribe is used to call everybody the Awesome Tribe who listen or watch the podcast. It's where we have fun, and you get to just decompress, and you just answer. So I'm not going to ask you this one. Your theme song for life. What song would you play every day, every time you walk in a room? Like it'll play every day. Whenever you walk in a room, that's a song they'll play.
Look at God. That's my song.
Oh, okay, that's a good one. I know it's
Look at God by Corinne Hawthorne. And it just reminds me that regardless of what we are going through, look at what God has taken us from and where he's taking us to. And so if we can just, because I always think of the verse that says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And I used to look at that and not even pay attention. But the most important word is that you are walking through it. And so when we are walking through a thing, because sometimes we get caught and we go, you know what? Well, I've got this diagnosis. I'm stuck. And we stay stuck for years.
Most people don't even see the beauty in the diagnosis. They only think, depending on what era you grew up in, you look at it in a negative way. Like in my era, I heard the R word. I was in special education. I was bullied. I was talked about. So for me to have a awesome kid is kind of funny, because I went through that. I was nonverbal. I wasn't talking. So I understand what my son's life is going to look like. So it's kind of like a ha-ha moment for me. But people have to look beyond the diagnosis. Now, here go another fun one. Describe yourself in a hashtag. Quick, fun, and social media friendly. So you cannot explain it. You just got to tell you the hashtag.
I have to say the hashtag?
Yep. You have to describe yourself in a hashtag.
Hashtag perseverant, resilient, um, faith, faith bound, God's girl, um,
I love how you coming up
proud,
with this just off the
proud
top of your
mama,
head.
proud mama, autism mom, advocate, peacemaker. Uh,
Okay. Y'all,
hashtag.
she gave us a list, y'all. I'm over you. One thing about I loved about this episode is I didn't distract you while you was talking because you was hitting so many points, and it was beautiful because sometimes when we the podcaster may interrupt you, you may lose your train of thought. So I
Okay.
was like, nah, she's on fire, and I was back here watching, and I just hope the awesome tribe when they listen to this episode they can embrace it and fully be like, and
Mm-hmm.
see themselves in your story. So,
Yeah.
one question I want to ask you: what does awesome you mean to you, and how do
Mm.
you live it out in your message every day?
Mm. I think just being awesomely me. I am only who I am because of my children. And I am graced. I am graced with the privilege of being their mother. And I think about the fact that a lot of times people complain about their circumstance, but I've learned to have gratitude because of them. Because I think about there are so many mothers that wish, or women that wish they could be mothers. And so who am I to complain about the situation that I am in? But I am grateful because God has graced me with beautiful children that teach me something each and every day, and that helps to formulate the person that Tiffany is. If it was not for my children, I would just be nobody. I'm nobody's mom. But I had the privilege, and God thought it not robbery to give me the greatest gifts that I could have ever been given. So that is just me being awesome.
Mm,
Me is being able to be who I am, and I celebrate you because to have this platform and to be where you are is just such an example of God, his goodness, his faithfulness, and how you did not allow a label to define you. And if I can teach other people that, if we can bottle that and say, you know what, it doesn't matter. And even as parents, because we feel like, oh well, my child may not become this. We we the sky is the limit. And
sky
I
is the
don't,
limit.
sky
We have
is
so
the,
many amazing autistic people doing amazing
yes,
things. You can't
yes,
let the label stop them. You
that's
can
right.
all you can do is give them the tools to be great. And I
That's right.
also love early that you touched on the point of drowning because that is one of the number one causes
Yes.
for autistic people or
Yes.
kids because they're drawn to water. And it's funny because I'm drawn to water, but y'all already know I'm autistic, so I ain't gotta say that. But I've been teaching my son how to swim. We take lessons for the last 3 years for safety,
Mhm.
and it's amazing. And we do,
Yes.
and you're right, it's scholarship based
Yes.
because it is a safety thing.
Yes.
Swimming is when you have an autistic family member, swimming is not recreational. It's safety. So
Yes.
I'm happy you touched on that because I live in Georgia. Just
Yes.
a couple weeks ago, we had a young boy um, body that was found in a pond. And
Yes.
I knew that where his body was going to be found because the moment the news said he was missing for 14 hours,
Yes.
I knew as an advocate who is, I must say it, I'm very seasoned at this point. I
Mhm.
knew that he was going to be within, 10 miles away from his home in the pond or in the swimming pool or somewhere in water. And when the news dropped 16 hours after he was missing, they said they found his body in the pond. I
Mm.
said, The
Mhm.
mama did. The mama didn't. The mom did not know that
Yes.
she moved her kid into danger because the
Yes.
pond was in the back of the apartment. Big, it was like
Yes.
a big lake. She didn't even know. And I said, that's the first thing I would have told you. Like,
Yeah.
but it's unfortunately, this is not common knowledge. It's not common knowledge to say, let me go ahead and Google what's the number one cause death for autistic people. But a
Yeah.
lot of things are not common to talk about. It's kind of taboo, like we're talking
Yes.
about sex, but we're not
Yes.
really talking about something that needs to be talked about. So I'm happy you did touch on that. Before we get into my last question I ask every guest is, can you tell my audience where they can find you? If you have any offers, please share it.
Mhm.
And anything she said, you guys are going to be in the show notes.
So, my book is called Your Daily Ticket. It is God's 31-day passport to living effectively, and you can find it on Amazon. I'm also on Facebook at Tiffany Colvin, COL, V as in Victor, IN. Also, you can reach me on Facebook at Divine Designs, where I, for the month of April, for Autism Awareness Month, as well as months after, because it's always Autism Awareness Month, I do have faith-based apparel for autism. And it talks about us being fearfully and wonderfully made. And each I'm developing different shirts based on faith-based so that we can get the word out about autism, how great our awesome loved ones are. I can also be reached on Instagram at Tiffany Colvin 4154. And again, feel free to DM me. I am on Amazon. Again, last name spelled COL, V as in Victor, IN.
Well, you guys, I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. But as I ask every guest, before we wrap up, I would love for you to share affirmation that our audience and listeners can take away from today's conversation, something that reminds them to embrace their uniqueness. I want your affirmation to be like a real affirmation that they can say if they're listening, driving, they
Mm,
are they're running or they're watching. I want it to be a real affirmation. Um, Lately, my guest affirmations have been awesome. They have been amazing. But I
mm.
want to just alter it a little bit more, and I want it to be an affirmation, not a saying, because I want people to really resonate with it.
hmm So, so I'm gonna add. This is my thing. I say, go get God, but I also, with that, I say, go after every gift, every dream, every talent. Get busy. It doesn't matter what your label is. Get busy, because you have to expose and expel every gift that God has for you. And then go after God. Seek him and ask him what it is that he has for your life. And I say it as simply as this. This is the one verse that I had my children learn. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I can do any and all things. So remember, you can do all things, not some, but all things. And say that every day. I can do all things. When it seems like you cannot do, but make it through the next day. As a caregiver, I can do all things. As a person with autism, when it feels like somebody's bullying you and they're getting on your nerves, you say, I can do all things. And then you tell them, get behind me, Satan. So other than that, I just want you to remember that you can do all things. Go get God. It doesn't matter where you are in life. God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all things that we could ever ask or think.
Mm, I love that because I believe that we can do everything through Christ who strengthens us. I believe when you really put God in your life in the first and put him first, God will start to do some amazing things
Yes, you will.
that you didn't even think was possible. That's when you put God in your life, that's when miracles and blessings start to
Yes.
happen. But you have to be willing to sacrifice, and you have to be willing to understand his purpose for
Yes.
everything. Or if he removes certain things or people or places out your life, it's because
Yes.
God only saw what was going on behind you, and he needs to push you to be best.
Yes.
So I told you before you recorded this episode, um, And I'm sorry, awesome listeners, it's gonna be our longest episode. I took a break from being an autism advocate for a year, like maybe a year and 6 months, because I started another business with a business partner at the time, and all of a sudden I heard God say to me, "It's time to walk in your purpose."
Yes.
Now, the business I had before I started this, I'm not saying it wasn't my purpose. It is and was an amazing business that God placed in my heart at 13 years old. But
Wow.
now God has elevated me to fully walk in my purpose where I can impact so many more lives. Even though, if anybody watched the bonus episode that I dropped, I struggle too.
Yes.
Then I go through the same emotions as everybody else. So when I start to put God, like, and listen, really be obedient. That's the word.
Yes, that's the
Obedient.
key. It's
Then
better
I'm
than
like,
sacrifice. Yes.
it's better to be obedient than fight him.
Yes.
Then amazing things have been happening. So
Yeah.
to my listeners, I want you guys, before we end this episode, I want you guys to talk to God.
Yes.
If you haven't talked to God in a long time, I want you to do it. I
Yes.
want you to carve out 10 minutes a day to talk to him, or read the Bible, or do something that's spiritual to you, to get closer to what you believe in. Because I'm not the Christian that force God on people, because it will happen. But I hope this episode inspired the listeners. I hope this episode helped a mom or a caregiver that can't get a diagnosis, even though stats show is based on race. Because I have met parents who had a story similar to you, and it was difficult for them to get a diagnosis until they switched doctors. And I'm just happy, before we wrap up, that you got the diagnosis. I'm happy that you're putting God in the center of this
Yes.
journey. I need more of that, because
Yes.
God is the reason for the season. God
Yes.
is the reason for this podcast and this brand. So
Yes.
just thank you for your life and story
Yes.
to my listeners. So
Yes. Mean, to have this platform and just to be an example for others, because I say sometimes people need to see it so that they
mhm.
can know that they can do it, and you are that for them. And you
Thank
are
you.
made fearfully and wonderfully made in God's image, and you are going to go and get God and everything. And I see so many great things in store for you, so don't you forget me.
Oh, thank you.
But
You
you
know
are
what's funny?
amazing.
God is, oh my God, this God has showed me so many things that's going to happen in the next couple years, and God told me I haven't seen nothing yet.
That's right.
So I'm just embracing
Yes.
what He's doing and being obedient. Um,
Yes.
the funny thing is, when I first thought of the podcast, I would initially was going to charge guests to be on here, but then God told me, no, don't do that. And because of that, I have met so many amazing people, and I'm going to continue to meet
Yes.
amazing people, because this platform is for us. I feel
Yes.
like, I know people get tired of hearing this, but it's a platform for this community designed by us and
Yes.
created by us. Because I'm a awesome mom.
Yes.
B, I'm self-diagnosed autistic late, and then also I'm supporting all of the other communities in one. So I think it's amazing that the tribe gets to see this journey from the beginning until we become a global empire, because that's the goal. The goal, I
Mhm.
didn't get to tell you that, the goal for Austin You is to employ um, the people that have higher support needs. Yeah, I don't, my goal, okay, I'm considered somebody that have lower support needs.
Mhm.
Yeah, my goal is to employ people who are not like me, who have higher support needs,
Yes.
because I feel like that's important.
Mhm.
Um, I don't like the term high functioning, so nobody will never hear me
Yeah.
say that unless somebody want to talk about it. I think it's offensive, so I don't use it.
Yeah.
So that's when I say audience. When I say lower support needs, that means high functioning. When I say lower support needs, high functioning. Higher support needs is low functioning. I think I messed it up. I think y'all get it because I really don't use those two terms.
Yeah.
Yes. So, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I want you guys, like I always say, to support her, blow her up, book her.
Blow me up.
Yes, buy her book. And on top of that, I need you to like, comment, and subscribe to this podcast. And I want you to review it. If you want to bring Tiffany back, please email me. And it's because everything's in the description. And we will bring her back so we can do part 2. Because I believe in you guys really listening to these episodes. So we completely ran out of time. Thank you, Tiffany, for being here. And I really appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. So that being stated, bye, you guys.
Bye. Go get God.
Story making room for the ones who speak in ways they don't understand, for the hearts that love big, for the ones who take a stand, for the ones who see the world in a different way. We amplify your voice, let the world hear what you say. Every challenge, every win, every step you take, you are seen, you are loved, this is your space. No more silence, no more fear, awesomely you, we're standing here. We are the